After an intense North London derby where Arsenal were held to a draw, fans have been left questioning why are things not clicking. So today we'll break it all down to understand what exactly Arteta is doing. We'll also discuss the major injury returns, reveal the breaking news regarding Ivan Toney, and find out who will Arsenal start in their Carabao Cup clash against Brentford. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Babs14, welcome back to your boys channel and I hope you guys are doing sensational. Things are happening at the Emirates Stadium. We've got a lot to break down, so as per, don't forget to smash a like on the video if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and help your boy as we're trying to reach 200,000 subscribers. But starting off with Arsenal's problem. The North London derby was fascinating. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2 in a game that went back and forwards. There was quite a bit that we learnt. Starting off with the role of Fabio Vieira, taken off at half time. In the first half it was 11 accurate passes, 0 key passes, 0 accurate crosses, 0 successful dribbles and only 4 ground balls won. There's a reason why Mikel Arteta took him off. With the likes of James Maddison dropping off deeper, Vieira was getting targeted 2v1. On came Kai Havertz, who gave us a different tactical dimension. A 6.7 overall rating with 23 touches, 11 accurate passes, 1 successful dribble, 4 ground balls won and more importantly 2 out of 3 in the air. Arsenal had a very clear plan in this game. They wanted to go direct as much as possible. Hence why Mikel Arteta started both Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah. Ultimately, I think Arteta made a mistake. When you play that style of football, it is not suited to the style of Fabio Vieira. And in terms of the overall stats, Spurs had more of the ball, also completing more passes, but Arsenal had more final third entries, but slightly less in terms of expected threat created. The field tilt shows that Arsenal still had control, 65% in total, but look very closely towards the 45 minutes. After Arsenal scored, there was clearly a drop-off in play. They allowed Spurs back into the game. This is where my real concern came about. At this stage of Spurs' project coming to the Emirates Stadium, they should not have been given that much control. Look at the performance of David Raya in goal, a 6.9 rating, 19 out of 29 accurate passes, and only 6 out of 16 long balls. Arsenal were going long way too often, where Spurs were playing out the back consistently. Arsenal weren't showing variation, but that's where there needs to be a change. First it was Aaron Ramsdale and now David Raya. Both of these keepers can play short out of the back, but are clearly being told to go long as much as possible. Even though Arsenal have the ability, it's all about finding the right time. Raya himself made a great save in the first half, leaving Aaron Ramsdale very impressed on the bench. And that there caused a bit of a debate, with the likes of Jamie Carragher not believing Ramsdale, saying that he's playing up for the cameras. And that's where you've got Aaron Ramsdale's father, whose response was clear: "You are a disgrace. Show some class that my lad has." And that's where he would have seen David Raya's performance. Even though he had some top moments, it wasn't perfect, and for Ramsdale there may be an opportunity. In terms of overall chances, here's the expected goals. Arsenal actually came out on top with 2.19 to Spurs' 1.31, and this has sparked a post-match conversation. Look at the performance of Eddie Nketiah, a 6.3 rating, with only 1 shot all game, 1 massive chance missed, 0 successful dribbles and 6 out of 8 passes. With Jesus also missing a sitter, Arsenal fans are now asking the question, do we need a more clinical forward? But for me, I've got a different concern. Look at the overall pressing. As StatsBomb points out, in the first half Arsenal pressed very high, particularly in central areas for Nketiah and Odegaard. Forcing Spurs into constant errors, it was very impressive. But in the second half the press dropped off. With only 117 total pressures, Spurs were able to play through more easily. This may be the effect of Champions League football. The fact that a lot of these players started in midweek, there was a clear lack of energy in the second half. But the stats don't do all the talking. Despite Spurs having more accurate passes, Arsenal still had far more in the opposition half. This is becoming a theme for Arsenal, consistently averaging over 65% field tilt. It shows they are very good at getting the ball to the final third, but that's where there's a clear concern. In terms of open play expected goals this season, with 7.6, Arsenal have the 12th best in the Premier League. That's 1.3 per match. Arsenal have a clear problem. They are not creating enough chances. So let's look at the performance of Martin Odegaard. A 6.7 overall rating, it was far from impressive. 47 touches, 19 accurate passes, a 68% accuracy, 3 key passes, 1 accurate long ball, as well as 3 ground balls won. Odegaard had an overall expected assist of 0.03. This graphic here sums it all up. Eddie Nketiah received the ball 12 times in this game, and only 1 time did that come from an Arsenal number 8. When you've got the quality of Fabio Vieira and Martin Odegaard, that is not good enough. Arsenal are not maximising their attacking midfielders. There needs to be a clear change. Arsenal lack dynamism in the final third. Every action in the final third is way too choreographed. The fact that we are 15th in the Premier League for big chances created, even though Arsenal could get a more clinical number 9, the creativity is actually the real problem. And then you've got the complete opposite at Man City. 6 wins out of 6, they remain top of the Premier League, now 4 points clear of Arsenal. After a 2-0 victory against Nottingham Forest, Phil Foden and Erling Haaland scoring, there was a very important moment in the second half. Rodri given a straight red card, meaning he is now going to miss the Arsenal game next week. Regardless, Arsenal fans are concerned. Will Arsenal be able to reach the levels of Man City? With some even asking if the title is already over. That's where we need to calm down. Arsenal still have won 4 wins out of 6. They are unbeaten in all competitions, with only 1 point less than our start last season, as well as 4 points out of 6 after 2 games against the Big Six. Arsenal fans are allowed to have their concerns, but you also have to remain rational. This is not the time for a meltdown. Titles are not won in September. April and May will be the real months of focus. All Arsenal have to do until then is stay within range, and that's where we look to Mikel Arteta. Things are not clicking at Arsenal. It's now time for him to find the balance. Moving on to Arsenal's major boost. Things are about to get better, without the likes of Trossard and Martinelli against Spurs. According to Sammy Mockbell, Trossard and Martinelli are now expected to be fit once Arsenal face Man City. The game against Spurs was so telling, with Arteta starting Jesus against Pedro Porro. Just imagine if that was Gabriel Martinelli, elite at 1v1 dribbling, and then you can't forget about Leandro Trossard, elite ball striking and clinical finishing, something that Arsenal definitely lacked against Spurs. According to the Standard, Leandro Trossard is hoping that he could return to action for Arsenal's trip to Bournemouth. But what is happening with Bukayo Saka? Scoring against Spurs from a fantastic penalty. Look at his start to the season. Constant ratings of a 7.9. 7 goals and assists in 7 games. Taken off against Spurs in the 95th minute. As Mikel Arteta says, he was limping quite badly after the match. We had to get him off the field. He hasn't been able to participate in a session, and it's now a possibility that he can miss Bournemouth. For Arsenal fans, this is very worrying. If we're talking about game changers, Saka is our most natural one. We saw it against Spurs when you give him the ball in dangerous areas. He's able to cause havoc in the final third. Overall, Arsenal fans can stay calm though. The injury itself isn't too serious, and I do believe he will be available for the game against Man City. But what about Declan Rice? Taken off in the 45th minute, on came Jorginho, who made a massive mistake. The fact that Arsenal became far more open defensively, it showed how important Declan Rice is. So why exactly was he taken off? According to Mikel Arteta, he had some discomfort in his back. He was telling us during the first half that he was uncomfortable, and when we assessed him at half time, he could not continue, so we had to change him. But for Arsenal fans, there's some positive news. According to Nick Kames of The Guardian, relief for Arsenal after Declan Rice's back injury is not deemed serious, and Rice could play at the weekend against Bournemouth, after being withdrawn against Spurs. A prime example of why Arsenal have signed Declan Rice. His fitness has always been elite. Having him available against Man City is going to be so important. They are without Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, and the Arsenal midfield could be even stronger. Let's talk about Thomas Partey. According to Sammy Mockbell, Thomas Partey is making good progress from a groin injury. Amid hope he's closing in to return sooner than expected. He was due to return after the October international break. This will be an absolute game changer. Rumours are surfacing now behind the scenes. Arsenal hope Partey could be available against Man City. Look at the potential midfield three. Declan Rice, Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard. There's been a lot of fans talking about how Arsenal are missing Granit Xhaka, but that midfield there is the closest we get to last season. We need to talk about the Arsenal captain, as Martin Odegaard has signed a new 5-year contract. As David Ornstein confirms, it ends in 2028 with no option to extend. The 24-year-old is now Arsenal's highest earner. Talk started in May. There was interest from elsewhere but not entertained, with Josh Kroenke being the driving force in the deal. Another example of Arsenal completing their mission. As Edu Gaspar says, our aim is to keep our best players. Odegaard is one more as we have agreed long-term contracts with a number of our most important young players. In the space of just 1 year, Arsenal have tied down Gabriel Odegaard, Ramsdale Martinelli, Wanyeri Nelson, Saliba and Saka. And they're not stopping there. Reports are claiming that Ben White is next on the agenda. Talks are already underway. In terms of the Arsenal captain, Odegaard has been speaking. He says, I felt at home here since the first day. I feel great. This is definitely my home. I'm so happy to be here and sign a new deal. I'm so excited. There's a reason why Mikel Arteta has made him the Arsenal captain. First the training and the hardest of workers. An example to the other Arsenal players. As Arteta says, Martin is the player that he is today because of what he's been through. That's what is making the player and the person he is today. We are really happy that he's found a home. In 113 Arsenal appearances now, 27 goals and 15 assists. Something stands out there straight away. The fact that Odegaard has more goals and assists, despite being known as a more creative player, it shows that Odegaard's profile is changing. This year, 0 assists and 0 big chances created. Odegaard is focused far more on shooting now. 15 non-penalty goals last year, equaling a record set by Kevin De Bruyne. The next step for Odegaard for me is clear. Arsenal have to adapt his role. Look at these two performances as an example. On the left hand side you've got against PSV an 8.5 rating. Odegaard's heat map is all over the place, with Arsenal giving him positional freedom. You compare that to against Spurs, where Odegaard was far less involved. There are some shouts in the Arsenal fan base. Is it time to try Odegaard on the left hand side instead? His angles could be far more suited. With the option to find Gabriel Martinelli, Odegaard could be our Xhaka replacements. Now we've got to talk some transfer news. According to reports in the UK, Arsenal have begun talks over a January move for Ollie Watkins. Aston Villa's marksman, 15 league goals last season, Watkins is a good striker. 27 years of age in the peak of his powers. Out of contract in 2025. He's spoken in the past during his time at Brentford, saying that his dream is to play for Arsenal. His numbers last year are very intriguing. 15 goals from an XG of 16.46, 20 big chances missed and a 17% goal conversion. Watkins has a lot of fundamentals, very good hold-up play and strength around the channels, but Watkins is not clinical. You have to ask the question straight away. Is Ollie Watkins an upgrade on Gabriel Jesus? But here's where we have another striker. As Fabrizio Romano confirms, Ivan Toney is going to leave Brentford in 2024 100%, and he preferred to stay in the Premier League. Currently Toney is serving a ban, but as you can see he's finally back in Brentford training, and he can officially make his return on the 17th of January, when his ban is over. Here's where Arsenal enter the equation. In a recent podcast, Toney said, "The next club that I go to if I were to move, it would have to be the right club. From young I liked Arsenal, like watching Arsenal and how they play, how passionate their fans are." Toney is a very smart person. He understands the power of social media. Name dropping Arsenal is all a part of the plan. Ivan Toney wants to move to Arsenal Football Club. And then you had the reliable Team News and Ticks, who says Ivan Toney has been very open about wanting to play for Arsenal. Having recently signed with a brand new agent, he has told him his top priority is to get a move to Arsenal. This is where we have a very good relationship. Look for example at the David Raya deal, signing Brentford's #1 goalkeeper on a loan transfer. The fact that suited Arsenal was very important. It shows that we have a great relationship with Brentford, able to make deals work in our favour. Arsenal could use that to their advantage in a deal for Ivan Toney. As John Cross of the Mirror says, Arsenal are stepping up their interest in Ivan Toney ahead of the January transfer window. Brentford are willing to sell the player, but will demand at least £60 million. It remains to be seen whether Eddie Nketiah could even be put into the deal. That would be the ideal scenario. An Eddie Nketiah and Ivan Toney swap deal. Arsenal would not only upgrade their attack, but also use their resources wisely. As John Cross says, Arteta wants to bring a proven goalscorer to his squad and wants to add a physical presence to his attack. Ivan Toney fits the bill. Arsenal are long-term admirers and might have even pushed to sign him in the summer had Toney not been banned. But how does Toney compare to the other Arsenal strikers? Toney played the most amount of games with the highest goals per 90, a 25% conversion rate, more than Jesus and Nketiah. Look at his aerial duels, 7 contested, at a 48% success rate, the highest out of all 3 strikers. 20 league goals in total from an XG of 18. Toney is a very good finisher, but you can't forget about his creativity, having created 12 big chances last season. Think about what that can mean for Arsenal. The likes of Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka making runs in behind. Toney's got a Harry Kane-like ability to drop down deep and play passes in behind. And here's where things get even more interesting. So far in the league this year, Arsenal are 3rd in terms of crosses completed. And then you look at the corner numbers. Arsenal are 1st and by a mile. Arsenal are building a team that is perfectly suited to a physical number 9. Exactly the profile of Ivan Toney. With the long passing of David Raya on goal, not only would Toney give Arsenal an outlet, but with 20 league goals he's proven in the Premier League. At 27 years of age at the peak of his powers, Arsenal are entering that stage of the project. The players they sign need to be ready. But this won't be an easy deal. As Fabrizio Romano says, Arsenal and Chelsea have both asked for the conditions of a potential Ivan Toney deal. Very intriguingly, Fabrizio replied to that tweet with a smiley and eye emoji. Things are definitely happening behind the scenes. But here's where Arsenal fans have to ask themselves the question. Does Ivan Toney elevate Arsenal to a level to go and win a Premier League title? Arsenal are making their next step obvious. A physical number 9 is their top priority. And that's why you've also got the likes of Victor Osimhen, who is now set to take legal action against Napoli after they posted a TikTok video, which is very offensive to Osimhen. Who is the number 9 that you believe Arsenal need to sign to take us to the next level? Moving on to the other Arsenal news today, and starting off with some breaking news. Arsenal loanee Albert Samuel Lukonga has confirmed that he is set to be out of action for a couple of months, as he has suffered an injury. Starting for Luton and doing pretty decent is things that you don't want to see. For Sambi, it's a get well soon. But then you've got to talk about Charlie Patino, who scored his first ever goal for Swansea in a 3-0 victory over Sheffield Wednesday. Look at this guy's stats so far this season. 6 games, 1 goal, 3 assists and 12 key passes. Patino is taking his game to a brand new level, and Arsenal will be watching closely. With the potential space of a left-sided number 8 available, Charlie Patino fits the profile. Next up for Arsenal is a big game, as Arsenal take on Brentford in the Carabao Cup. away at the GTEC Stadium. Before the game, Arteta confirms Declan Rice hasn't trained, but Arsenal are confident it's not a serious injury. Leandro Trossard remains out but could make Bournemouth. Saka is out for tomorrow and could be out for Saturday. Martinelli is also out for tomorrow but could return for Bournemouth. So who exactly is Mikel Arteta going to start? Well, according to The Guardian, Jakub Kiwior, Emil Smith-Rowe, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Cedric Suarez and Reece Nelson will be among the fringe players hoping to start against Brentford. Here's how I think Arsenal are going to line up. Ramsdale and goal with a back four of Tomiyasu, Saliba, Kiwior and Zinchenko. A midfield three of Jorginho, Ben White and Odegaard. And a front three of Reece Nelson, Kai Havertz and Fabio Vieira. The key player in this game is definitely going to be Emil Smith-Rowe. This could be his first Arsenal start since 2022, with the last one being against Newcastle at the end of the 21-22 season. The Carabao Cup is a fantastic opportunity to win a piece of silverware. You have to go back all the way to the 1990s for the last time Arsenal won it. How do you think Mikel Arteta needs to line up and who do you think needs to start? That is the video there and there though, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy in all of his social medias, then the links are down below in the description. But that was all of today's latest Arsenal news and a massive game against Brentford, and after that we've got Bournemouth. Games are coming thick and fast, so for Arsenal fans, we're about to learn quite a lot about this first team. So I will see you next time, take care and in a bit.